Good morning, children, and welcome back to our English class. It is rightly said, winter is not a season, it is a celebration. So, dear children, today I will give you an introduction to the poem Winter by K.K.N. Daruwala. Before we start off with the poem, let me tell you something about the poet. K.K.N. Daruwala is one of India's foremost poets and writers. He is also former Indian Police Service officer. His 10 volumes of poetry include Under Orion, The Keeper of the Dead. It is a winner of the Sahitya Academy Award, which he won in 1984. Landscape. It is the winner of the Commonwealth Poetry Award Asia that he won in the year 1987. Night River and the Map Maker, his first novel for the Pepper and Christ, was shortlisted for the Commonwealth Fiction Prize in 2010. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 2014. Most recently, he was honored with the Poet Laureate Award at the Tata Literature Live, Mumbai Literature Festival in 2017. His work has been translated into Spanish, Swedish, Magyar, German, and Russian. His winter poems came out in 1980. The vast landscape of his sprawling land comes alive in the pages of Daruwala's poetry through his masterly touches. It gets its articulation in various forms and features, as hills, rivers, valleys, trees, plains, pastures, and winter. It grips its imagination inescapably, and he tackles it both in its wild and mild aspects. In the poem Winter, the poet describes the harshness of winters in this poem. Along with its majestic beauty, he also explains the effects it has on an individual, how one keeps shivering and covers him or herself in blankets. He also gives a pictorial view of the winters in India by elaborating on the mists and fogs. While reading the poetry of K.K.N. Daruwala, one is bound to have the feeling that he is being transported to a bizarre world. No other Indo-English poet delves so deep into the mysterious inner world of the human psyche as does Daruwala. Daruwala writes with a vision, and the vision follows him like a shadow. While reading his poetry, the reader will have occasion to remember the several poets. His attitude towards nature will remind one of Tennyson. His morbid preoccupation with death will remind one of Emily Dickinson. His supernaturalism will remind the reader of Coleridge. His poetry as a heap of broken images will remind us of the poetic technique of T.S. Eliot. There can be no doubt that Daruwala's interests are varied and that his observation is very keen and minute. But the most pleasing aspect of his treatment of his themes is that his attitude to the various problems and issues of life is always original, and that his poems are therefore by no means stale or stereotyped. The most remarkable of his poems are those which reflect his social concern and his compassion for the victims of misfortune. A remarkable feature of Daruwala's poetry is its ability to vividly materialize its abstractions to strike a creative tension between image and statement. His poetry has the narrative energy and sweep to paint, for instance, a vast portrait of post-India independence and a landscape of meaninglessness. And so, children, we will now read one of the finest poems of a remarkable poet, K.K.N. Daruwala, Winter. Thank you for today. I'll see you in the next video.